I mean, a lot of people would say never mix business with pleasure, but they obviously have.
Which is why we have such a good working relationship, because none of this is a pleasure, believe me.
Let's talk about movies. We've just seen Magpie, which is a British thriller starring Daisy Ridley and Shazad Latif. And Chris is here. Film we're talking about reveals the price we pay when the line between love and obsession blurs. Have you been in that situation?
I'm in that position hourly. I'm so desired, Phil. There's something again that you wouldn't know about. But you know, it's
maybe that's for another video. We can do like special extras like they do on DVDs and Blu-rays.
What, dating tips or something?
Yeah. So this film is directed by Sam Yates. It's his feature directorial debut. It's a film that's been written, well, the screenplay's written by Tom Bateman, who also starred in The Tunnel. Did you ever see The Tunnel, which was the British version of The Bridge?
Probably.
Really good. He was in that.
I'll take your word for it. Viewers, I'm being nice to Phil today. This is A, this is me being nice, but B, I'm being nice to Phil. I'm telling everybody this because no one's going to register that this is me being nice. Do you want to tell the viewers why I'm being nice to you?
Don't know.
Because you're not very well, you fool.
Oh, because your husband told you off.
That's the actual reason. But the reason I was going to tell the public was because you're not very well, are you?
Well, I've gone deaf in one ear. Actually, that's the ear that I can't hear anything out of because I've had an ear infection and I need to get my ear syringed, which is probably quite grisly, actually. I don't know why I'm sharing this information with you.
Well, because I suggested that you did.
Should we talk about the plot?
I think we should. I think we've lost the plot.
This is a film that's based on an idea that the writer developed with Daisy Ridley, because Daisy Ridley is his wife. I just found that out today. So, I mean, a lot of people would say never mix business with pleasure, but they obviously have.
Which is why we have such a good working relationship, because none of this is a pleasure, believe me.
So this film centres around Ben and Anette. Their daughter Matilda, or Tilly as she's called, is cast in a film alongside glamorous movie star who's Alicia, who's played by Matilda Lutz, who was in Revenge, which is such a fantastic movie. You must have seen that because you're a horror fan.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ben is quickly drawn to Alicia, the character of Alicia, and it's quite a clever film in some ways, but I was saying to you that I think it was probably overstretched. I mean, it's a nice idea that I think would work or would have worked as a short or a TV programme, like, say, 30 minutes or an hour at most. And an hour and a half, I think, is a bit of a stretch.
I disagree with you about that, actually. I think it's got a nice pace to it. I think everything happens right. There's a few things that kind of could have happened in that time that didn't happen. But, you know, I think it's got a good... I felt it was... I think it's a film, you know, basically. I think it worked in the film format. I was happy with that.
Yeah, that's not to say I didn't like it. I mean, we've got a great cast. Daisy Ridley, who I said to you is stunning. I mean, I'm sure that you would agree with me, but I kept thinking of... Tony Halliday was in a band called Curve, and I used to love it back in the 90s. Kind of like electronic, goth, rock alternative band. If you don't know them, check them out because they're amazing. But she reminded me of her in this.
Yeah, I mean, look, you just summed up the plot using lots of sentences. My summary of the plot was a bit simpler. I think it's basically like the everyday tale of middle-class straight adultery, isn't it? I mean, that's basically what it's about. And these people are kind of... They divide quite nicely into people you're going to like and people you're not going to like. Quite early on the film, I think, we were texting each other going, do you like so-and-so yet?
Yeah.
Because, you know, they kind of fall into two camps, don't they? You know, yeah, I mean, it's basically the story of this man, this father, this husband, who I think from the very earliest scenes with him, you can kind of tell he's a wrong un. You know, he's not a very nice husband. He's not a very nice father.
He treats her very coldly, doesn't he? He doesn't engage in conversation when she asks him questions or tries to communicate with him. He just shuts her down. One word answers.
Absolutely. I mean, I thought he was quite bluntly sexist quite a lot of the time as well, and you know, quite an unpleasant kind of man, really, in lots of ways. And yeah, he gets his head turned by this gorgeous American glamorous actress, starts spending time with her, lots of little flirty texts. You know, I mean, you've been there, Phil, you do this all the time. Yeah, so he gets his head turned and he kind of goes for it, basically, with this woman. The wife is left to sort of pick up the daily running of the house, run the household, not do all the glamorous things that the husband's doing, and Yeah, we're not doing spoilers in this thing, are we? We're not
Probably not, because I mean, yeah. Let's not do spoilers, because I think it's a fairly simple film in terms of where it goes, and I think there is quite a twist at the end, which does need to be a shocker. And I think if we spoil anything, I think it would completely ruin the whole film, because there is a big build-up.
The whole point of the film,
I mean, to be honest, that big build-up, it kind of could have revealed a bit earlier, I think, because it kept me wanting to find out. I suppose that's a good thing, isn't it? Because it kept me intrigued.
To be honest, I think as a twist, it works really well. I didn't think that was going to happen. And as you know, that's because I'm not very bright generally. When
you said it.
Well, this is why this is being nice to Phil Day. I'm giving you the line. So,
payback.
So yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised by the twist. You know, I wasn't expecting it. I was going along with the film and, you know, trusting everyone and blah blah blah. And the twist worked for me, actually. Do
you know why that's so effective? I think is because at the beginning of the film I did, and I'm sure you did as well. We tend to hate Ben, the character, obviously, who's the husband and the father. And what is interesting about it is that I kept asking myself whose side I was on. I mean, I initially, yes, very much on Annette's side, because she's, you know, mistreated and obviously at the receiving end of some quite sexist behaviour, like you say. And you know, he just doesn't appreciate her at all. But then what is interesting, he, as part of the conversation, speaks about her mental torment and her being a bit of a crazy wife, essentially.
That ends up being a question you ask yourself at the end, doesn't it? You know, is she a crazy wife? How justified is he in his criticism?
Yeah. Has she behaved badly, basically?
But, you know, the go that he gives her and the rest of the family. I mean, I wrote down in my little notes the little quote when he says "well done" to the daughter, who's like, the daughter's like 5 or something.
Yeah.
And he holds her responsible. The 5-year-old girl holds her responsible for the fact that him and the wife aren't getting on, which is basically about their duplicitousness. It's not the daughter's just saying what she's, you know, she's just being a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
But the way he talks to her as his daughter was just massively disrespectful, really unpleasant.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some great clapbacks as well on Daisy Ridley's side, obviously as Annette. There's some brilliant lines. One line where he's caught out by paparazzi, isn't he? Because he's a writer and he's in this magazine. He's been packed with Alicia, and obviously Annette sees this article. The headline is "Famous Actress Caught with Mystery Man," and he's meant to be this famous writer, and she claps back by saying, well, they obviously, you know, didn't know who you were because they called you a mystery man, which I thought was excellent. I was howling at that.
Which might actually, that's given me a really good idea for our DJ duo name, actually. We just could be called the Mystery Men, because actually nobody knows.
So what was the verdict? I mean, like I say, I think it did take a while to get there. When it did get there, it was effective, and I thought the performances were good, but there was a couple of things I wasn't so keen on. But then when the twist is revealed, I understood why it was executed in that way. There's some moments where it's almost like moments in time played out, but obviously for the sake of the viewer, to explain what the story is and what is happening, because you don't see a lot of things happening, do you? There's a reason for that.
Yeah,
if you know
absolutely.
what I mean.
Yeah, well, again, I wasn't clever enough to get all of that when I was watching the film, but thank you for filling it in.
No, I didn't get it either, to be honest. I mean, that twist was a shocker.
Yeah, it was, and I think you're right. When you look back at the film, when you watch it a second time, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, okay, there's my clips, there's my bread."
I think because I wanted more shocking things to happen, because it kind of builds itself as not a horror as such, because it is more a thriller, isn't it? It's a thriller mystery. So I think once you've seen the whole thing, you appreciate it more, rather than kind of expecting things to happen when it's quite a slow burn. And I'm all for a slow burn. I don't dislike films that take a while to to get going, but it did take a while for anything really to happen.
Less about your private life, thank you for that. But yeah, it is a slow burn, but I think I don't know. I am going to disagree with you. I think the pace is right through the film. It kind of works for me, actually, the way it moves. I don't think it needed to be any faster, really. I think it kind of, because it takes you, as with all good films with a good twist in the end, it's leading you in a particular way, and then suddenly it just goes off another way. I mean, it's got to do that. And the longer you're going on the path before you get diverted, I think the more successful it is. So
the music is interesting, isn't it? Because it sounds like something from the 70s. It's got this, somebody's playing a flute, maybe folk horror, a bit Tales of the Unexpected, or Hammer Horror, Hammer House of Horror.
I wouldn't go there with that particularly. No. I've got to say, fellow architecture fans, it's set in a really beautiful house.
Aren't they always, though? Films like this are always set in a really massive house. You think, God, they must be on a right old packet, but I guess they are.
But you see, I started off this film kind of rolling my eyes, going, "Oh, this is another middle-class, overpaid, straight family who are clearly having some problems that the money can't solve for them." And I roll my eyes at this all the time in films, obviously with a little speckle of jealousy about the fact that I don't live in a house like that. But well, I do actually, obviously.
Yeah, it was a gorgeous house. I had envy, house envy. Yeah.
But, I mean, it needed to be set up that way. They needed to look like a successful family who've got everything they want. The little daughter's perfect, and she goes and does these perfect little performances in her first feature film, and she's treated like a star and all that kind of stuff. And everything's about bigging them up, and making them look like they're this wonderful, successful family. You quickly realise, because of the behaviour and the activities of the father in particular, that they're not a dream family, that they're not perfect. But I think it needs that context. They need to look perfect, at least on the surface.
Yeah, absolutely. Work. So, star rating, Chris, for Magpie, which, by the way, is available on UK and Ireland digital platforms now. It's out now. Today.
Good. Go and see it. Yeah. I'm going to say it's a 4 out of 5 film for me.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I'm going for 3. That's not to say I didn't like it. I didn't think it was good. I did think it was good. It's not necessarily something that I haven't seen before. It felt like a few other films that I've seen. Can't think of anything that comes to mind, but yeah.
I think it's an accomplished film, actually. I think that I do disagree with you slightly. I don't think there's any fat you could have trimmed out of it. I think the story's told well. I think it's directed well. It looks good. It's cast well. It's performed well. Everything's good about it. It's got all these great ingredients, and I think it comes together. Sometimes we say that about films and they just don't gel together for some reason, like somehow directorially they're just not working. I think in this film, actually, all those things come together and they sit in their place and they do what they need to do, and they deliver a really good film at the end of the day, actually.
Daisy Ridley is really good. She has some evil stares going on that aren't over the top. They're quite subtle, but you just know that she hates him. She wants to kill him.
And as we were just saying, is that about her state of mind, or is that about how she's being treated, or is it about some inner difficulty she's got? All of those things are actually a little bit mysterious, and I think it's a real success to play that, because she plays a character who we can't penetrate her, we can't know her in a way that you might with other characters, because there's some stuff going on around it. So it's kind of hard to know where you stand with her, as much as you may have some sympathy for her a lot of the time. It's hard to know.
I do like Daisy Ridley, though. I mean, I'm not a Star Wars fan by any means, but I do think she's a great actress, and I enjoyed her in this. Yeah.
But to be fair, they're great performances as well. I think that the husband, as odious as his character is, he's clearly playing that incredibly well, actually.
Yeah. And good looking, but odious.
Not my cup of tea, no, but we all know your cup of tea is quite a different cup of tea, Philip.
Well, it's good to see you, Chris. I shouldn't really say that because you've been cruel to me throughout the whole review today.
I've been nice. Okay, get well soon.
Thank you.
Please.
Love you.